There is a kind of silence that snow makes. It is not the silence of an empty room. It is the silence of a world that has decided to wait. In a small village at the foot of the mountains in old Bohemia, in a cottage whose chimneys smoked thinly because there was not always wood, there lived 2 girls and the woman who claimed to be mother to both. One girl was the daughter of that woman. The other was the daughter of the husband who had gone into the ground 3 winters before. This is the story of which girl went into the snow and which girl came back. A story from old Slavic lands. A council of 12 men around a great fire. Violets in January. Strawberries in February. Apples in March. And January himself meeting whoever stands in his way exactly as he is. Ancient and patient and entirely without mercy. The daughter of the dead father was named Marushka. She rose first. She lit the fire. She swept the floor. She hauled water from the well in the dark, kneaded the bread, fed the goat that did not give milk anymore because it was old and tired, and Marushka could not help loving things that were old and tired. The daughter of the living mother was named Helena. She rose when the light reached her face. She combed her hair for an hour. One winter morning, she knocked a full pitcher of milk onto the floor, and the mother, finding it, turned to Marushka and asked why the kitchen was such a mess. Marushka had seen the spilling. She could have said so. She only said she would clean it. So she cleaned it. The mother of the house listened only to one of the 2 voices that lived under her roof. The cottage was warmer for Marushka's labor, but only one of the 2 girls was loved for being in it. This is how a household can become a kind of weather. There is a snow that falls only inside a roof, and only one daughter ever feels it. On a January morning so cold the well rope froze to its bucket, Helena announced that she wanted violets. Not pictures of violets. Not the memory of them. Violets in her hand. By tonight. The mother turned to Marushka. "Go," she said, "and do not come back without them." Marushka took her shawl, which was thin, and her shoes, which were thinner, and she walked out into a world that had decided long ago not to grow violets in that month. The wind cut. The road forgot it was a road inside half a mile. The snow came up to her knees. She thought about turning back, and the thought of returning empty-handed kept her walking forward. So she walked forward. So most things in a life happen, because the only door that closes is the door behind you, and there is nothing on this earth as patient as a young woman who has already decided. She walked until she had no idea how far she had walked, and then she walked further than that. And at the top of a ridge she had no name for, she saw, against all reason, a fire. It was not a lamp. It was not a hearth. It was a fire as wide as a meadow on the open mountain, surrounded by 12 men sitting in a great circle on 12 stones. They did not look up when she arrived. They did not need to. The eldest was white-bearded and silent, holding a staff carved with a sun and a snowflake. The youngest was a boy with green at his cuffs and laughter behind his teeth. The others sat between them, in every age of the year. Marushka did not run. She did not speak loudly. She did what her mother in the ground had taught her to do in the house of an unknown elder. She asked permission to warm her hands. The eldest, who was January, lifted his head and looked at her, and the fire bent toward her as if it had been waiting. He asked her, in a voice older than the village, what she wanted. She told him. She said she knew it was an impossible thing, but it was the thing she had been sent for. And there were no doors left at home. January did not laugh. He did not lecture. He looked at the boy with the green cuffs, who was March, and he said, "Brother, this one is yours." March stood up. He raised the staff once, only once, and the snow at the edge of the council softened, and the moss beneath it lifted, and 100 violets opened where the moss had been, deep and purple and breathing. Marushka knelt and gathered as many as her shawl would hold, and she thanked each month by name as she rose to leave. They watched her go in a silence that was not the silence of indifference. It was the silence of an approval that does not need to be spoken aloud. The next night, Helena did not want violets. She wanted strawberries. Marushka took the same path back up the same ridge, and the council was waiting for her exactly where she had left it. February stood up to her this time. He was older than March, broader across the shoulders, with a thin white beard like new frost on a windowsill. He raised the staff. The snow at the council's edge burned away from a clearing the size of a small garden, and the bare rock beneath it grew warm, and ripe red strawberries rose between the stones as if they had been there since the world started. Marushka filled her shawl, thanked each month again by name, and walked home through the dark. Helena ate the strawberries one after the other in a single sitting and said only that they were not as large as she had expected. The third night, Helena wanted apples. Marushka did not even ask any more whether the impossible was possible. She put on her shawl and walked. The council was waiting again, exactly as before, and this time March did not need to stand at all. He had only to look up and nod. Apples appeared on a bare branch above Marushka's head. 3 of them, heavy, sweet-smelling, perfect. She reached up and the branch lowered itself politely into her hand. She gave the council a small bow her mother in the ground had taught her was the right kind of bow to give to old powers. They watched her go in a silence that was no longer the silence of approval. It was the silence of something kindlier and more concerned. 3 nights of impossible gifts. 3 nights of someone bringing them home in a thin shawl to a house that gave her, in return, only a list of fresh demands. On the 4th morning, the mother and Helena decided they did not want the gifts. They wanted the giver. They wanted to know where this council was and to ask for things by the basketful, not by the shawl. They put on their warmest coats. They took the largest basket they owned. They did not ask Marushka the way, because they believed a path used by such a kind girl would certainly recognize 2 cleverer women. They climbed and they climbed. The wind ignored them, which was a kind of insult they did not notice. At last they saw the fire and 12 men around it. The mother did not ask permission to warm her hands. She shouted at the council the way a person shouts at a market stall when she has decided she will not be cheated. She told the council what she wanted. She told them they would give it, and quickly, because she had brought a basket and intended to fill it. The youngest of the council, the boy with the green cuffs, looked away. He had liked Marushka. He did not want to watch what came next. January lifted his head. He did not pass the staff to anyone. He raised it himself, once, slowly, the way an old man stands up from a long bench when he has finally seen enough. From that ridge came a wind that has a name in older books than ours. The wind walked down the mountain alone. The mother and Helena were not with it. They had thought the council a market. They had brought a basket. They had not brought the one thing nobody ever brings to such a council, which is the willingness to be told no. Marushka, waiting at the cottage, watched the snow come on for 2 days and 2 nights, and understood, in the way the kind sometimes understand the world, what had happened. She did not weep. She did not celebrate. She added wood to the small fire. She thought about her mother in the ground. And then, because it was the kind of thing her mother had taught her to do, she left the door unlatched in case anyone was still walking toward the cottage in the snow, ready to be forgiven. By morning, the storm had moved on. The path up the mountain was unbroken and unmarked, and gentle in the way snow becomes gentle once it has decided it is done. Marushka did not climb that day. She did not climb the next. She climbed once that spring to thank the council in person. The council was not there. Only the meadow was there, with violets growing in it, and a single white feather where the eldest stone had been. She kept the feather on the windowsill all her life. She found the cottage warmer the next winter than it had been in many winters because nobody had been shouting in it. She buried the apple seeds in the small patch behind the house. She planted the violets along the sill. The strawberries she ate slowly, one at a time, all through the spring, and her mother in the ground would have approved of the slowness. She kept the fire small. She kept the door unlatched in case any traveler came up the road looking for a cottage that would not chase them out. By summer, there was an apple tree where there had not been an apple tree. By winter, the small fire she kept was visible from the ridge, and on the longest night of the year, an old man with a white beard came down once from the mountain to warm his hands at her hearth, and was not surprised that she had nothing to say to him but welcome. If you want a moral, the months are plain about it. The world will sometimes give you what was never owed to you. Whether you keep it has nothing to do with the world, and everything to do with what you do with what you carry home. This was Forgotten Fables. Follow the channel when you want the next story the loud world forgot.